You might want to prioritize before that.
Okay, if everyone can be seated, prior to the open session, council met for a closed meeting. It was moved by Council McDonald, seconded by Council McCann. That pursuant to section 239(2) and 3 of the Municipal Act SO 2001 C25 is amended. Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound moved to a special meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land for municipal or local board purposes, town requested easement for future amenities, potential acquisition of property, E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, revenue sharing agreement, F, advice that's subject to solicitor client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, revenue sharing agreement, and that meeting was held. Welcome everyone to the May 16th, 2023 council meeting. And at this time, I'd like to acknowledge that we're on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people under the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850 and the waterways traveled by the Métis of this region. And we have a mover and seconder for the agenda. Moved by Council Borneman, seconded by Council McDonald. Council agenda for May 16th, 2023. We approved as circulated, but are there any amendments to this? I have a suggestion of item 10.4.3. As a planner is online at this particular time, that we moved that one up.
For 6 Harmony Lane.
For 6 Harmony Lane, yeah. Any other suggestion for changes in the agenda? No? Then the agenda is approved as amended. All in favor? That's carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest to the general nature thereof? Okay. Adoption of the minutes. Mover and seconder. Councilor McCann, Councilor McDonald, with the minutes from the regular council meeting held May 2nd, 2023 be approved as circulated. Any discussion or comments on those minutes? Nope. Okay. All in favor? That's carried. We don't have a public meeting. Questions of staff? Any questions? Councilor McDonald?
I had one, I'm not sure. The recent changes to the pickleball goes I'm wondering how that's gone compared to the ones that are using the Parry reservation program.
Excuse me, through your worship. So I think, we've seen some folks that were not particularly happy with change from that perspective. We've also heard from others that saw some benefit in that process. I think it's also important to remember that our recreation staff that work at the BOCC all winter long also look after all of our outdoor amenities all summer long. So that transition from indoor to outdoor is sometimes challenging to be able to manage all of those things. From my understanding, the drop-in program certainly would be convenient for a lot of folks. It's not always easy to schedule staff to be able to provide that coverage, for instance. So I think part of the thought process in reserving courts would be we would know who's coming, who's using, if it's booked, and be able to allocate staff time accordingly. So I think as a trial, it's probably a good thing to let us understand if there is demand in that shift from drop-in to booking the courts or reserving the courts. And I think you'll probably see a shift back to some drop-in programming perhaps in the fall when staff are back in the building on a regular basis as well. It's difficult, again, like I said, the last few weeks too, I think we've been doing some work on the HVAC stuff. So there was some cancellations not related to any of the booking changes either with the pickleball. again, I think it's challenging when staff are not, there seems to be a huge growing demand for pickleball. I've seen it over the last few years in various locations as well. So we're trying to do the best that we can to accommodate all of those uses. And there are some conflicting uses. I believe we're putting some courts on the rink pad, but the demand for programming or for use of the facilities is increasing overall, which is a good problem to have in recreation. We certainly want to see those facilities used. So I'd suggest that this is a good pilot or trial for us to see if it's going to be something that can be incorporated on a regular basis. Maybe it goes back to some sort of a drop in the fall once staff are back in the building on a regular basis as well.
Thank you. Councilor McCann.
Thank you. This one will be for Mr. Kearns as well. So it was brought to our attention, and I think, and I know that the Public Works have been very busy, especially with the transition from winter to summer. There was some concern about, and I believe there's a maintenance plan in place to sort of spruce up the gazebo down on the main town dock. So I was wondering if you could just speak to that.
Certainly, through your worship. Staff took a good look once that came to light. And frankly, we had been already looking at it this spring in some of the work that's needed on the dock. And this is just, it's kind of a regular occurrence for us back seasonally, re-inspecting assets to make sure they're in condition for the upcoming season. So we did talk briefly before this came to light about the need for refinishing, refurbishing some of whether they're picnic tables and or benches or the gazebo itself. Once it came to light, we had a discussion internally because we will look after the refurbishment of that. We had another discussion today on what perhaps is the best course of action in terms of we have to be environmentally friendly out on the end of the dock as well. So we're going to find the right course of action to be able to facilitate that work.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much for that.
Councilor Barnum and Councilor Ashford.
There we go. So it's your lucky night, Mr. Cairns. I see piles of material to be used in resurfacing the fitness trail. I see a couple of spots where we are having some erosion issues kind of on the walkway, the pathway of the trail itself. Are we, is there a timeline to complete the work, and are we also undertaking some other work so as the new material doesn't end up being washed away as the old material was?
Through your worship. So I'll start with the second part of that. So the answer is yes. We do have some drainage work to complete to keep that water from flowing in, just like our roads. We don't want water flowing down the path of travel. So staff were pretty successful last year. I think we saw between the Stocky Center and the Coast Guard, and we had some significant washout issues over the number of years. And we have seen some pretty torrential downpours since that work's been done. So I think, we understand what needs to be done to mitigate that so that it doesn't continue. So we will be doing some work. We do need to get locates and all those wonderful sorts of procedural things in place before we can do that work. We will touch up some of those washout areas before the weekend, though. I just want to mention that are ahead of time, but we will be continuing with further work before the resurfacing of the entire trail network is completed.
Councilor Ashford.
Question for Mr. Thompson. We're preparing for taking a look at our strategic plan, and there are some meetings coming up on Thursday to engage the public, business community, and different people like that. How's it going so far?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for that question. Yes, you're absolutely right. We are having strategic planning focus groups this coming Thursday, May 18th at the Stocky Center in the Prelude Room. there are two different times. 2 p.m. there's a business group, and at 4 p.m. there is a community group. We have had numerous people request to be able to participate in those. We would still really enjoy getting more people to participate in them. So although we are asking for RSVPs, I would still encourage people that if they don't get a chance to get in contact with myself or with Sherry Skinner, that they could drop in and attend those sessions. This is an opportunity for the public to have their input into the strategic plan that will be moving forward, and to determine what the future is going to look like for the town of Parry Sound. There is also opportunities on our website right now. We do have a survey up on the website, and it will be up till Friday. You can just go to parrysound.ca, and there's a banner right at the top of the web page, so you can take the survey at that time as well.
Councillor Lornman?
I nearly forgot. Thank you, Councillor Ashford. Mr. Thompson, I see lots of stuff on social media these past few weeks about training opportunities for volunteer firefighters. It appears that they've been well attended and they're great opportunities. I'm just wondering if you could give us an idea of how many hours and the cost involved in training of getting a person up to snuff to be considered a member of your firefighting teams.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. There has been significant changes in the firefighting curriculum that's required for firefighters in the province of Ontario. Moving forward, to have a full service fire department, which clearly the town of Parry Sound needs, that would be a fire department that would do internal building operations. We have 4 years to get all of our members certified to the level of NFPA 1001 and 1002. So it's a significant endeavor. Currently, we're working with our mutual aid partners, specifically Township of Seguin, Carling, McDougall, and McKellar, on our recruit program. And so those particular firefighters are new firefighters, and they're starting with us, and we're putting them through an 80-hour course program that's going to get them certified in the first level of that certification. It's extensive training. There's a great deal of commitment from the recruits, as well as from the trainers who are certified to train in our existing ranks. So that's part one. Part two is taking our current members who are not certified and getting them certified over the next number of years. So there's a great deal of effort, and to be able to provide the services that we provided in the past, that has to happen in the next few years. So there's lots of things happening, a great deal of commitment and dedication from everyone who's involved in it, and a lot of fun as well. So yeah, lots of action.
I'd only add that we owe a debt of gratitude to Chief Thompson, his team, and these new recruits, because I don't think our community could afford to, the investment there's a great return on the investment that we're making. I don't think that we could afford to pay a full-time fire department to take over from these folks. So express our appreciation to one and all, please.
Councillor Ashford.
Question to Mr. Kearns. Just every day on my way to and from work, I take a look at the dam at Cascade Street there, and it is there's a lot of water coming over, and some days it looks like it's slowing down, but that's only seems to be for a few minutes, and then it starts going again. Progress on redoing the bridge and where we're going to kind of be with it, getting signs out, all that kind of stuff, so that as soon as it's safe for the workers, we're kind of moving that minute to avoid the summer influx of traffic.
Through your worship. So actually, hot off the press, we just received the construction scheduling proposal from the contractor. I believe it was yesterday or today. So we've indicated to them that the signage needs to go up immediately. So hopefully we see that happen pretty quickly. At this point, I would anticipate probably after the long weekend, which might be okay. It might cause a little less confusion after the long weekend. So it'll be warning signage explaining how long, what's happening, the detour routes, all of those sorts of things. So they're planning on mobilizing for the site starting the 5th of June. So the signage, all those kinds of things, they're planning for it. They'll do the advertising, get the signage up. The actual detours, according to this, are scheduled to start on the 7th of June. So that would be pedestrian and vehicular detours, no longer using the bridge. So that's in their current planning and schedule. And yes, I did also take notice to the amount of water flowing in the river. We're hoping that nature will cooperate with us and settle down to more normal flows. Obviously be under control, but we will certainly work with the circumstances we're given.
Okay, we done? All right. What, you got another one? Okay.
This one to Mr. Thompson. I've just noticed in our agenda that the patios, temporary patios and temporary licenses for alcohol consumption and these kind of things keep coming up in our agendas. And in a certain way, it does seem to me like this is kind of standard operating business of the business community and us as an organization. And I'm wondering if there can be anything done to streamline these kind of things so that we just kind of have a nice fluid, no hiccups, no jumps. Maybe council doesn't even need to know about it until we are on these patios having a drink ourselves.
Through your worship, Mayor, I'd like to defer that to Mr. Rand to answer. I think he would, he's been the major thrust with these and might be able to provide you with better information.
Thank you, through your worship. We, with respect to the patios, the ACGO has changed their processes where they do require council resolution as part of any temporary patios. As we've seen, there's kind of a few different types of patios here, sidewalk patios. In the case of DeSalvo's, you see on the agenda tonight, there's it's technically a temporary patio, but it's on a permanent structure. And then the last type, if you will, would be the one that's on the agenda tonight for Don Cherry's. And as we've seen at Trestle, where they're actually putting a temporary patio on municipal parking. So there's some bylaw ramifications of that. I think staff would be happy to sort of write a report and just outline the differences between the two, and perhaps there may be an efficiency that we could create by delegating partial approval where there's, for example, where there's no bylaw concerns. However, in the case of the Don Cherry patio, for example, because they are taking parking spaces, it would be appropriate to bring those to council for approval. So that's sort of the thinking. I don't know if Chief Thompson has anything further to add, but we're certainly happy to write up a report for council's consideration.
Through council, and to add to Mr. Rand's comments, the process the ACGO was put in place is quite frankly very cumbersome. And it feels like we're coming back and forth to council to try to resolve these issues. I do agree with Mr. Rand that some of these circumstances are quite straightforward and mundane. And if council was interested, we could write a report for the delegation of those to staff so we can process them quicker, provide better service to the customers, and more appropriately utilize everyone's time. Again, as Mr. Rand said, there are some that are very appropriate to come to council. So, I mean, if council were to provide direction for us to return with a report and some of those recommendations, we could do that.
Okay.
Would it be appropriate at this moment to decide if we want to ask for or to give direction for that report to be brought to us now?
Yeah, okay. You're moving that?
May I motion that we give direction to Mr. Thompson and his department to provide us a report on how there can be efficiencies found in this process.
Okay, seconder. Council McDonald. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, are we good with questions for now? Okay. Correspondence, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have just 3 items of correspondence. The first is from the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors, and it's a letter of congratulations to Vinny Benaza, Manager of Operations, on his recent Certified Road Supervisor certification. The second letter is from the Parry Sound Downtown Business Association. It's simply a letter of thanks for the financial support to the DBA in this year's budget. And the third letter is from Enbridge. Enbridge is writing with the intent of providing an explanation on locates and charges. They indicate that there has been some information circulating that isn't accurate. So I'm just going to read one paragraph or an excerpt of it. That we're required to comply with the recently released regulations related to locate delivery through Bill 93. In order to recover our compliance costs and protect the interests of our customers, we introduced a locate charge for third-party and for-profit locate requesters. We want to assure you that locates for private property owners and existing natural gas customers remain at no charge. And then they're looking at the third-party locate charge as well, putting that on pause to see whether there may be some efficiencies in a certain process of authorization there. There's also misinformation circulating, according to Enbridge Gas, that infrastructure in municipal right-of-ways is at no cost. They indicate that's not true. Enbridge pays more than 135 million in annual municipal taxes based upon the infrastructure they operate. And that's the correspondence.
Very good, thank you. There's no. Congratulations, Mr. Bonanza. Well done. There's no scheduled deputations, so we'll go to reports so we can begin the rest of the meeting. We'll start with Councillor Keith tonight.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, staff, and public. My report will be very short, as I did not go to any meetings, but I am very concerned. In respect to Earth Day, I decided to, of course, follow through with my challenge to do my best in trying to look after our environment and to be, shall I say, a litter picker. Well, 30 hours. I accomplished within 30 hours, 18 large bags of litter, etc. And I have to say personally, I am really, really disappointed, not in reference to my own energy, but in reference to what people just freely discard. And I find it very upsetting that we live in such a beautiful area that I think that we should all have civic pride. And if we're going to purchase whatever at restaurants, or we have extra things in our vehicle, for example, or walking that we don't walk, take it back home and recycle it appropriately. But I can tell you there were 2 areas within a 3-week period that I went back and had to pick up again. And it is frankly very disgusting, some of the things that people are throwing out, discarding. So I really do think we need to all do our best in that area. And maybe by law, that's another possibility, needs to do their best also if they can in the event they do see somebody littering, whether it's education or what, but we need to get it together, because I think also our area of keeping ourselves clean shouldn't just be at the edge of the Parry Sound limits. You know, when people come to our community or new people come, whether as a tourist, whether as a visitor, whatever it may be, or coming to live in our community, they should be seeing a community where everybody is proud of their community. And I think it all starts with every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keith, and thank you for what you did as well. Councillor Ashford.
The first thing today is just I've had the opportunity to see some of the welcome to kindergarten nights with my little ones, my oldest getting to that age. And it's just, I wanted to mention how beautiful it is in our community that it is growing. Our families are growing and kids are registering in schools and those schools are getting full and things like that are happening for us. So a wonderful opportunity to kind of see that in action. I know one of the schools' largest registration they've had in kindergarten thus far since it's opened. And the second thing was busy few weeks, but I had the privilege of attending a portion of the Phonom conference here held at the Stocky Center, which was wonderful. And I know a lot of people did a lot for that conference and a lot of our staff and counselors and community. And but I did want to highlight one section that I listened to where and thank Mr. Kearns, who was on the panel discussing the ice cap and just kind of highlighting for another way, one of the great things that our Parry Sound staff and community do for our region and the province as a whole. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Pulaski.
Thank you, Your Worship. I did attend some conferences on May the 5th. I attended the District of Parry Sound Municipal Association annual or spring meeting at Sprucedale. We elected a new president, an interim vice president, a new secretary treasurer, and a representative to the Phonom group. And we had an excellent lunch. Councillor Borneman came over with me and it was very good. On May the 8th to the 10th, I attended the conference at the Stocky Center. I think the Stocky Center really needs to be applauded for their presentation and the way it was organized, and the food was excellent. The whole thing was organized very well, and I was very proud to have a Town of Parry Sound name on the front of it. The people that mentioned to me how great that Stocky Center is, they said, boy, have you guys got a wonderful building here. And everybody that I sat at different tables with said the same thing. So I was very proud. And on May the 8th, I attended a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and it was, to me, it was kind of business as usual. Councillor McDonald may change that a wee bit, but and that's my report. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Councillor McCann.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, public and staff. I have a very short report here. I've had the last couple of weeks have been busy, but in terms of what I can report here this evening, just one meeting that I attended. Some of the meetings that that I normally would have attended have been put off because of the Phenom presentation last week. So anyhow, this morning I had the pleasure of attending the follow-up meeting with staff and the local developers to discuss development charges. And I know that a report is coming for information tonight here. And there were fewer people there this time around, but I feel confident that we're going to find some middle ground here as we move forward. I don't know. You know, you talk about growth and Councillor Ashford talking about the growing families and such, and we see a number of businesses coming online. There is such a growth in the area, and we're going to have to pay for that and cover it some way. So we need to find a balanced way, and I'm confident that we'll do that. So that was a good meeting, worthwhile. I was glad that I was there, and that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Borneman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. Councillor Pulaski reported on the District Municipal Association meeting May 5th. I too was in and out of the Phenom meetings Monday to Wednesday of last week. Thursday afternoon, IceCap had the unveiling of our local climate change strategy at the Stocky Center as well. I was impressed. It was very well attended. There were I think representatives from each of the area municipalities and quite a number of private sector organizations and you know, as well as the Georgian Bay Associations and the GBBR and such. I'm told that the purpose of that meeting is to try to engage the public. And one of the while the town and other municipalities are taking steps municipally, we contribute something like 3% of the local carbon footprint. So to have any real impact in that regard, there has to be some public buy-in. And most of the local footprint results from transportation, recreation and automobiles. So the next step, I'm told, is we will municipally be receiving a plan for the town specifically. Each of the participating municipalities will be eventually receiving these plans. I understand our staff have been involved and contributed to these plans as to how we can best move forward. So, you know, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a slow process, but we do what we can do to keep the ball moving in that direction. And earlier this morning, I attended a meeting at the airport. I can only say that the runway is now speeding along. Work is proceeding very quickly. And the runway is closed for those who make use of the facility. The runway is closed until August 11th, but the work is being undertaken at lightning speed. The cafe remains open. There are helicopters in and out of there on a regular basis, so it's not deserted, but it's certainly a slower summer than is the norm out there. And that's my report for this evening.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Worship. On May the 8th to the 10th, again, I had the pleasure of kind of working behind the scenes of the FONOM with our EDO, Vladimir, and his assistant Navi. So I'd like to commend them and Mac Bain on a great conference. They did a very good job, and there was a lot of moving parts behind the scenes, and I think it went off really well. It looked good on the town, and the delegates that were there, they all had a great time. Congratulations to Councillor Borneman on his executive award he received, well deserved. On May the 10th, I attended the Downtown Business Association monthly meeting. Things are progressing nicely there. Quite busy, lots going on, beautification, and they're coming up with a new strategic plan. On Friday, the 10th, sorry, one sec here. On the Friday, the 12th, I attended the grand opening of Venture Bay Studios at Canada College. Once again, it's a great resource for local businesses. We're very lucky to have this facility in our town. And just one more thing to add, our first cruise ship is coming in on Sunday, the Viking Octantis. So it should be quite the spectacle. I believe that will be one of the anchored ships anchoring across from Wabano Beach. And that's the end of my report.
Great, thank you. May 3rd and 4th. So council staff and public, May 3rd and 4th, I was a host for an Association of Municipalities of Ontario symposium on homelessness. It was an extremely well attended event in Toronto with great conversations with fantastic presenters, and I think AMO has a lot of information to take away from this particular symposium. May 5th, I chaired the audit committee meeting that deals with AMO's financial audit. And then also on May 5th, I attended the community living event at Trestle Brewery, which was the launch of their beer for the month or whatever, in conjunction with Sawdust Breweries as well. And another very well attended event. And I just want a shout out to community living and the efforts and the work that they do in the community to bring inclusiveness in our town. May 6th, I attended the District 18 Horticultural Society AGM, which was held in McKellar. There are 11 societies within District 18 and Parry Sound is one of them. And I was certainly pleased to bring greetings on behalf of council. May 8th to the 10th was the Phenom Conference, which everyone has mentioned. Again, extremely well attended. Conference maxed attendance and vendor participation. I have to thank and want to thank Vlad and Navi for their work and working the event, and the counselors that helped that event. I know councilors McDonald and Borneman were there also to help. Big thank you to the Phenom board for having the event here in Parry Sound, and congratulations to Councillor Borneman receiving the Phenom's Executive Award, and to those people that helped put the package together to make that all happen. So what's we got? May 10:30, May 11th, I attended a pre-meeting for the AMO provincial MOU meeting. May 11th, as was mentioned, was the Biosphere event at the Stocky Center. The booths that were set up were really interesting for that event. And as Councillor Borneman mentioned, there was a high-level report on the regional climate plan. And yes, there is supposed to be a plan for each municipality, which I was told should be coming out really soon. And I want to thank Councillor Borneman for his efforts on the IceCap committee and Mr. Kearns as well. That's I think something important, and I'm glad to see us there. May 11th at 6:30 p.m. I attended the Parry Sound District Social Services Board meeting, and council should have received in their email the update from that I sent around. Okay, all right, good. And then May 15th, I attended a meeting with bylaw and the OPP. And that's my report. We are going to go to item 10.4.3, moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Borneman, that bylaw number 2023-7344 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2004-4653, the zoning bylaw as amended for the lands located at 6 Harmony Lane, Roberts Hayes, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman, second by Councillor McDonald. The bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Discussion. Mr. Rand, do you have anything you want to add to what we've got here tonight?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you. I won't go through the details of the application, but essentially the zoning amendment would recognize the existing tourist outfitters establishment on site, including on-site camping facilities and a home-based business. It would also facilitate future expansion to an existing bed and breakfast establishment, as well as amending the boundaries of an environmental protection zone. Along with the application, we did receive an environmental impact statement from Riverstone Environmental Solutions, Inc., as well as a planning justification report. Both reports were in favor of the application, and both reports contain some recommendations that would be implemented through site plan control. We do have Lauren Arsenal here as well, who may want to add additional information, or just she may just be here for questions as well. But if at this point in time, staff would note that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, conforms with the intent of the zoning bylaw, as well as the intent of the official plan, and staff are recommending approval.
Okay. All right. Any discussion from comments from staff? Councillor McCann.
Thank you. Yeah. Excuse me. Certainly I'm in support of this, and what a great fit for that part of town. And it's right on the water there as well, I understand. So congratulations and good luck to the owners on this project.
Councillor Keith.
Yes, thank you. What I'm wondering about is if this is approved tonight, Is it possible that a few years down the road, say everything goes well, that they could come back again and ask to expand further? Is that a possibility?
Through your worship, that is certainly a possibility. We have built into the proposed zoning bylaw some limits on how much could be expanded in terms of the number of tourist accommodation units, for example, as well as the size. So if they were to down the road outgrow that or have a different sort of proposal, they would need to come forward to council for another zoning amendment.
Any other questions? Councillor Borneman?
Mr. Rand, that area is somewhat different than most areas in town. It's not serviced. Are there any requirements in any of these approvals that are going forward that if and when services extend to those areas, that connection to municipal services is required?
Through your worship, I think that would be addressed through the official plan. Should services be expanded to that area of town, there may be some kind of local improvement required at that time. I can't foresee that in the foreseeable future. However, like any other areas of town where services are expanded, there would be an expectation to connect. At this point in time, there was an environmental impact statement that endorsed the application as it is from an environmental perspective, and there are individual pit privies proposed for each of the camping sites. I can't speak to whether or not there will be services there in the future. However, there are official plan policies that would need to be met at that time.
Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried, none opposed. Moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McCann, that the information regarding amendments to the water and sewer servicing fees bylaw that will be coming forward at the June 6th council meeting be received for information purposes. Mr. Harris, do you have anything you want to add?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this is an information item just to let the development community and the public know that we are bringing an amendment forward to the June meeting. The purposes would be updating the fees and charges bylaw. As council will recall, one of the options in the report for development charges, option 3 is a combination of fees and charges and development charges. So taking the step to give notice and advertise that we're going to be amending that fees and charges bylaw allows council to implement that bylaw. It's ready for implementation at the June meeting, if that's the direction where council goes. So this is just putting the pieces in place to allow council to approve it in June, if that's the option they so choose.
Okay. You got the information and. All right. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and second by Councillor Ashford, whereas on June 8th, 2020, the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, AGCO, permitted new patios or temporary additions to patios to provide more opportunities to local businesses while protecting health and safety subject to municipal requirements. And whereas the Council of the Town of Parry Sound passed Resolution 2020-067 to permit temporary restaurant patios and opted not to enforce zoning or site plan agreements as it related to parking infractions because of these patios until January 1st, 2021. Whereas the Council for the Town of Parry Sound passed Resolution 2022-020, which extends the timelines of Resolution 2020-067 to January 2022. And whereas in December 2022, the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, AGCO, amended the provincial framework for temporary patios, which comes into effect on January 1st, 2023, and requires that municipal approval be obtained for licenses prior to selling or serving liquor on a temporary patio for up to 8 months per calendar year. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Parry Sound supports the approval of a temporary patio at Don Cherry's located at 6 Bow Street for a period of up to 8 months expiring January 1st, 2024 to the terms noted in resolution 2020-067. Discussion. All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Keith, then second by Councillor Boleski, whereas the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, AGCO, amended the provincial framework for temporary patios, which comes into effect on January 1st, 2023, and requires that municipal approval be obtained for licenses prior to selling or serving liquor on a temporary patio for up to 8 months per calendar year. Now therefore be resolved, the Council of the Town of Parry Sound supports the approval for a temporary patio to the rear of DeSalvo's Restaurant located at 105 James Street for a period of up to 8 months expiring on January 1st, 2024 in order to permit alcohol sales. Any discussion? Councillor Keith?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Rand, maybe you can explain something to me. I'm a little confused. I thought that there was a patio already in the front of DeSalvio's. And so are they able to already serve alcohol there and they did not need to come back, or because this is the rear? So can you just clarify that, please?
Absolutely, through you, your worship. Council may recall that a similar application came forward to this meeting on May the 2nd. At the time, we had been in discussions with the property owner, and they had advised that there wasn't a patio to the rear as well. However, that rear patio was not included in the resolution that was passed on May the 2nd. Partially, I think due to what Mr. Thompson had indicated was it's a bit of a cumbersome process, and staff were under the impression that it was not a temporary patio. However, when we sent the resolution to them, to the owners, they noted that the rear patio is also temporary as well. So given the wording that was in the previous approval, we needed to come back to council tonight to clarify that there would be permission for alcohol to be served on the rear patio as well. So it's a separate resolution from what was approved last time.
Yes, Councillor Keith.
Thank you. So just for further clarification, how will they enter the rear patio? How will patrons enter the rear patio?
Through your worship, I believe there's rear access. I don't have the site plan in front of me, my apologies. We can provide more information to council if
So
needed.
what I hear is rear access and one could enter from being in the building to that patio? Okay, because I
that's correct.
wasn't clear.
I'm leaning over here to stay, the sun's getting right in my eyes here, so. Anything further on this one? No? All in favor? That's carried. Get a little bit better now. Moved by Councillor McCann, seconded by Councillor McDonald. That bylaw number 2023-7338 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2020-7088. A bylaw to impose fees, charges for the recovery costs of capital works servicing Dennis and Macklem Drive be considered as read a first time. All in favor? Carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor McCann, that bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? Councillor Borneman?
think I'm asking Ms. Phillips this question. I'm just wondering if you could give the Coles Notes version of what we're up to and to assure folks that what we're doing now is consistent with what had been the original intent in servicing this area. It's consistent with what has happened.
Okay. So back in 2020, a bylaw to impose the fees and charges to service the 20 lots was passed in the area of Macklem Dennis Drive. And that bylaw was calculated based on the feet of frontage of each property lot, as well as service connections were allocated that way. Property owners were given the choice to pay the fees either upfront or opt in for a payment plan, which would be coordinated with their tax billing. So a newly severed lot forming part of the frontage wasn't contemplated at that time. So this bylaw amendment recommended to council will add a newly severed lot and the frontage, the feet of frontage into the calculation and recalculate those costs and apportion them to the lots. The new lot, the property owner of the new lot will be given the provided two options for payment. So they can either provide payment upfront prior to December 31st, 2023, or over the remaining term of the associated loan for Macklem Dennis project. And those, if they select the payment plan, it would begin in the year that the assessment is added to the tax roll and be spread over the remaining term of that. So the charge for the new lot would be $39,555 plus associated interest of borrowing. So that's how it's allocated out. And then the result would be that property owners that paid the initial costs up front will have an adjustment in the form of a refund, and others who opted in for a payment plan would be given a credit adjustment, which would be applied to the remainder of their payment plan. And credits could or would vary between $1,894 to $4,547 based upon the lot frontage of each of those lots. So really, the goal would be to be equitable to all the lot owners in passing the amendment to the bylaw, and then to recalculate that based on all lots associated with the servicing. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt a point of order? Because there's only one lot owner involved and it's a friend of mine, I should really declare conflict of interest in this one. So I'll step up for the remainder of this.
Then we need new signatures on the go ahead, Councilor Borneman, ask your question.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. I just wanted to be sure that folks knew that there was a recalculation going on here, that we weren't pocketing the additional money that was being raised through the creation of this new lot. Thank you.
Well, it's okay. Yeah, you did. Okay. Yeah, you got the right one there. Okay. So on the first part, Councilor Boleski's now the seconder and first and second parts. So just so council is aware. Any other discussion on this particular item? No? All in favor then? And that's carried. That should be it. And, moved by Councillor Pulaski, second by Councillor Ashford, that bylaw number 2023-7339 being the bylaw to adopt the estimates of the Board of Management of the Downtown Parry Sound Business Improvement Area and to strike the tax rate there on for the year 2023 be considered as read a first time. All in favor? Carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Ashford, second by Councillor Pulaski, that the bylaw above mentioned being considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Pulaski, second by Councillor Keith, that bylaw number 2023-7340 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement with Science North for the delivery of education-based youth camp programming be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Pulaski, second by Councillor Keith, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second, third time, passed, signed, and sealed. I think this is pretty cool. Councillor Bornman.
I was just gonna say this, I believe, started last year
Yep.
and it was really successful, so I'd be 100% supportive of this.
Well, they're a great partner. Any other, Councillor McDonald?
Just for the public's sake of interest, could we get a little explanation on what the agreement is with Science North?
There
Through
you
you,
go.
Mr. Mayor. So this agreement is with Science North. They're a nonprofit. Everybody I'm sure is familiar with Science North out of Sudbury. They come and provide 2 weeks of summer camp, STEM camp specifically, so science, technology, engineering, and math for the community. And they use the Bobby Orr Community Center as their space to host that. So this agreement adjusts our rate for per day to $250 from the $540 that's identified as the fee for the day.
Councillor McCann?
Was it well attended last year?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry, I wasn't in this role last year. And registration actually takes place right through Science North. But I assume that it was just knowing that summer camps are generally full in the area.
Right. Sorry to put you on the spot. Thank you.
Councillor Keith?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Young. I have two questions. One is, assuming in the event that this is approved tonight, will there be notification to the scheduled people, groups that usually use the facility at that time? And have you had any feedback in reference or concern in reference to that already?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we'd absolutely share this with our regular facility users. To answer the first part of the question, it does displace 2 regularly scheduled programs. So our drop-in floor curling and drop-in shuffleboard. Historically, having to cancel drop-in programs specifically for youth programming has been incredibly well received from our drop-in participants. So I don't anticipate any negative feedback from their part.
And I have one other question. Thank you. And I'm just wondering, how well advertised will it be? And I realize you were not in the role last year, but I remember hearing afterwards from some parents saying, I didn't know about it. So how good a job are we making sure that everybody, we've done our best so that we don't hear that, I didn't know about it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, because the summer camp is again registered and run through Science North, they are the main mode of promotion for this summer camp. But that being said, we could absolutely encourage registration and share it through our social media platforms as well as through our news page on our website as well.
So what I heard, yes, we can do it on the website also, so we can say, hey, this is a grand thing that's coming to Parry Sound. Don't miss out if you've got kids.
Absolutely.
Okay. Counselor Bornman.
I would only say that I think this year's is much better planned and planned further in advance. I think last year it kind of became not a spur of the moment thing, but not much more than that. It wasn't quite, things weren't put together quite as far ahead of time as what they're being done this year. So hopefully we have better results with respect to people being aware.
Any other questions, comments? No, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Counselor Keith and seconded by Counselor Ashford. That bylaw number 2023-7341, being a bylaw to establish the maintenance, management, regulation, and control of Hillcrest Cemetery and Sylvan Acres Cemetery, and repeal bylaw 2020-7066, being considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third reading? Carried. Moved by Counselor Keith, second by Counselor Ashford, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? Counselor Keith?
Yes, Mr. Cairns, I just have a couple of questions. And I saw the design where the next columbarium, if it's approved tonight, will be placed. I'm wondering, seeing as we like to do plans and we like to think about the future, and death and taxes we can guarantee. So can you tell me, is there a plan for where number 5 columbarium down the road might be placed? Do we have a long range vision there?
Excuse me, through your worship. Yes, absolutely. So the location was chosen to be complementary to the installation now. The 5th would be proposed on the opposite side to even out. There is room, so staff have planned ahead in terms of future planning.
Thank you for that. And just one other comment. I found there was a lot of information there, and I think anybody it would be really helpful for anybody who might be thinking they need that services down the road to be aware of all the regulations, because there's certainly a lot of well thought out information in that bylaw. So I appreciated knowing all the details. Thank you.
Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. I need a mover and seconder for the direction. Counselor Borneman and Counselor McCann. So with regard to the cemetery bylaw, that staff be directed to deposit the niche purchase price into the columbarium reserve as each niche is sold. All in favor? That's carried.
Excuse me, your worship. If I could, I just wanted to add maybe further to Councillor Keith's comment about the content. I just wanted to thank Ann Herdman, who put an extreme amount of work into this. So certainly those kudos belong with Ann. So I just want to make sure that was clear.
Yeah. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman. That bylaw number 2023-7342 being a bylaw to appoint Jessica Downing as a municipal law enforcement officer for the provision of on-call after-hours municipal law enforcement services be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman, second by Councillor McCann, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Borneman, that bylaw number 2023-7343 being a bylaw to amend the sign bylaw 2002-4486 for advertising signage at the town dock and Big Sound Marina be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Borneman, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. And moved by Councillor Boleski and second by Councillor Keith. That bylaw number 2023-7345 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council be considered as read a first time. All in favor? It's carried. Are all members in favor of having the second and third readings? Okay, good. Yeah. Moved by Councillor Keith and second by Councillor Boleski that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, prior to adjourning, I'd like to offer the following information to the public regarding the next council meeting. The next meeting of council for the town of Parry Sound is scheduled for Tuesday, June 6th at 7 p.m. The meeting will be held at the town of Parry Sound Council Chambers at 52 Seagon Street, entrance via Gibson Street, be live streamed and recorded. All regular council meetings are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. Council meeting schedule, notices of special council meetings, complete agendas and minutes and instructions on accessing live streamed and recorded council meetings are all posted on the town's website. Go to www.parrysound.ca and use the search bar. Your TV airs council meetings on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. following a regular council meeting. And for Cogeco listings, contact www.yourtv.tv. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.